Hey folks, this is Best in Slot, and in tonight's video we're going to discuss the recent Jurassic Park 30th anniversary celebrations. Now, if you've not been keeping up to date with Jurassic World Evolution 2 or a couple other things, you may not have even been aware that Jurassic Park recently had its 30-year anniversary. That's kind of a problem. That's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Now, this is not going to be an overtly positive video, as the title may suggest, but I do want to say some things have been done well. There have been some positives to come from this celebration in general. Four things really come to mind. The first is there was a few pop-up stores at the Natural History Museum. There's a few in America. They looked really good. They were really well made. They were clearly done with a lot of love for the franchise. Secondly, if you are a toy collector and you are US based, kind of important, unfortunately, there was a lot of good stuff in here for you as well. There was tons of new releases across a bajillion different stores, different merchandise in that regard. If you were into toy collecting specifically, and generally speaking, if you were based in the United States. Thirdly, we did get some pretty cool edutainment, informational sort of videos based on the original Jurassic Park produced by the Jurassic World YouTube channel, kind of just showcasing behind the scenes in the park and stuff like that. They had a really cool retro aesthetic, really had that grounded VHS CRT vibe that Jurassic Park itself tended to carry. They were clearly done again with lots of love for the original franchise, and they were a nice little bonus. Fourth, I'm a little biased admittedly as an Evolution 2 player, but I've got to say Frontier absolutely brought it. The Jurassic Park 30th anniversary update was humongous, had way more stuff than I think most of us expected, with like 26 items or something like that, and it was absolutely free for all players. If you haven't checked it out already, definitely go check out Jurassic World Evolution 2 on console or Steam. Would be my top recommendation for a way to celebrate the 30th anniversary. They put more work in than basically anyone else based on what we've seen. But if we're honest, that's kind of it, especially if you're not into toy collecting and if you're not based in the US. They did a lot of promotions with Target. You know, we've got the Amber line. There's loads of fantastic merchandise out there if you're into it. I'm not really a toy collector myself, but tons of you are, and that's great. But if you're not in the US, so many of these promotions are really difficult to take part in. So many of these exclusive releases don't make it over to other parts of the world, at least here in the UK. I know a lot of the stuff doesn't make it over, or you have to import it and pay incredible fees, or, you know, scalpers get hold of everything. It just felt like it's a US-centric celebration, whereas for the 30th anniversary of this beloved worldwide franchise, it maybe should have been expanded purposefully a little bit more. This was a perfect opportunity for a real celebration, you know, big fan events around the globe, more screenings of the film. They did bring back, they said, Jurassic Park to some cinemas. Again, I live right near a major cinema and we didn't get anything. We actually got it last year, funnily enough, in 3D. I went to see it. It was phenomenal. But none of the cinemas around here have been showing Jurassic Park as any form of re-release. So again, that might be a US-centric thing. Maybe it's not. Maybe there's other parts of the world. Maybe I was just unlucky, but again, it felt like a thing that could have been rolled out a little bit wider. And then, of course, a wider range of merchandise accessible to everyone around the globe, right? Surely loads of people want to take part in this. Surely there's a lot of money to be made from your worldwide audience, not just your US audience. They did try a little bit. There's a few companies, of course, that are bringing things out globally, Funko Pop and companies like that. And they also produced a new limited edition 30th anniversary steelbook edition of Jurassic Park. It's got some bonus extras that look pretty cool, and it's got two new steelbook cases and all this kind of fancy stuff. Unfortunately, it looks like this. It's terrible. Not only is the main cover, let's start there, horrendously ugly. Look at Alan Grant's face. He looks like he's wearing 10 tons of makeup and he's been photoshopped to the end of the nines. Ian Malcolm's holding a lightsaber for some reason. But if we swap to the other bit, the bigger image, you can see here that not only is one of the covers a picture of a statue that was released for the, it's not even artwork, it's literally just a photo of a statue that was released for the film. And the art on the art cards down at the bottom isn't even from Jurassic Park. It's from Jurassic World. And that's particularly noticeable. You can see it with the Triceratops, but if you look at the Dilophosaurus in Jurassic World Dominion does not look like the Dilophosaurus in Jurassic Park. And yet here it is in a Jurassic Park celebration with the wrong colours, with the wrong patternings. I'm not saying this is like a humongous big deal or anything, but I think it speaks to the just sheer laziness and the lack of effort and care that's been put into what should be a pretty, like, I think a lot of us would have bought this. I think I would have bought this. This I didn't buy because this is a huge franchise, and the amount of work put into this, it just screams, oh yeah, the celebration's out tomorrow. We should We should. Where's Greg? Where's Greg in graphic design? Let's get him together. You know, let's get Greg on this. And he had like 4 hours to put something together, basically. Really, though, in terms of things that I wanted, and I know a lot of you at home wanted, was some hint as to the future of the franchise. And this is really going to be the crux of the video. You know, this was a good time to celebrate the past 30 years of this long-standing franchise, but also the future of the franchise. And instead, the fans are entirely in the dark. We have no idea what's coming down the line. Now, maybe some will think this is a little harsh to expect this information to have arrived lately, but given the contrast with another franchise we're going to talk about in just a second, given that a huge number of people were convinced Universal were going to announce a new animated Jurassic, I think, film, people were expecting a Netflix animated film. There was a lot of people expecting that. You know, there was a recent film festival, DreamWorks Animation were going to be presenting something, and I know a lot of people, Jurassic fans on Twitter, were like, yes, this is it, we're going to get a new film announcement. Obviously nothing happened, it was something else entirely. Given that, I don't think I'm the only one who feels this way, but we'll see. For me, the closest comparative franchise to Jurassic is now Legendary's Monsterverse. You've got big animals, you've got tentpole summer blockbusters, and you've got a rabid fan base who dissect any lore they can get their hands on, even if it scarcely exists, if we're honest, in terms of Jurassic. So it's timeline time. Who's excited? Everyone's excited. The first Monsterverse film, the criminally underrated and absolutely beautiful Godzilla by Gareth Edwards, released in 2014. Now, 1 year later, the first Jurassic World film, by the way, time flies horrifically. 1 year later, the first Jurassic World film released in 2015. 2 years after that, in 2017, we got the next Monsterverse film, Kong Skull Island, and then a year later, we got Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, all lining up pretty well so far. King of the Monsters kind of slips in there, though, followed in 2019, and then Jurassic added its own extras in Camp Cretaceous in 2020. And then Godzilla vs. Kong followed in 2021 before we finally got Jurassic World Dominion in 2022. For me, the Monsterverse comes out ahead here by having a big budget blockbuster over a teens-focused TV show, but that's just for me. A lot of people loved Camp Cretaceous at all ages. That's fantastic. If you enjoyed it, that's great. It just lost me by the end. I didn't even watch the final season, if I'm honest. But we can call this a draw. I think it's okay to say this is a draw for these two big blockbuster franchises at this point in time. Before we move on, though, there is a point of comparison to make here. The box office total for these 4 films in the Monsterverse, keep that in mind, 4 films, is $1.9 billion. Actually smaller than I expected. The total for the Jurassic World franchise 3 films, $3.9 billion. Even with 1 film less, it made over double the amount of money that the Monsterverse made. Jurassic World had a production budget of $215 million. You typically have to double that for advertising costs and stuff like that, and yes, it is that much. Advertising costs are wild. Even if you're taking the angle and you're saying it cost $430 million total to make, it still made $1.2 billion in sheer profit. Those are insane numbers. This franchise is a cash cow unlike any the world has really seen outside of like superhero films and the occasional Avatar film, stuff like that. And really that perfectly brings me to my next point. Jurassic is a multi-billion-dollar franchise. Every single film in the trilogy made over $1 billion. Admittedly, getting worse and worse each time. It was like $1.6 billion for Jurassic World, $1.3 for Fallen Kingdom, and Dominion just about crossed that $1 billion mark, but still, it's $1 billion. It's a lot of money. And despite that, despite this franchise being worth so much and clearly being so popular, not just amongst Jurassic superfans or paleo fans, but amongst the wider population. You know, this is a heavy hitter in the summer audiences. We have no idea what's coming next. Not an inkling. Why are Universal not teasing, trailering, discussing their next projects and keeping the flames of the franchise lit? Why are we not given anything to talk about to keep the flames lit? You know, why are we not given anything to keep those box office numbers potentially high for future installments? If you let it just sit dormant, those are going to fade even more, surely. Why is a media-focused franchise, or at least it used to be, not going to lie, kind of feels like it's designed to sell toys these days, but why is a media-focused franchise not releasing any media? It's mad. The only thing reliably rumoured, and it is rumoured for Jurassic, is that we're getting yet another animated series based on the franchise. And that's a rumour. Let's compare that with the Monsterverse. You know, that franchise that's worth less than half what Jurassic is? They've had 4 major pieces of media since 2014, but the difference is we know what's coming next for Monsterverse. We've got trailers for the new Skull Island animated series coming to Netflix, actually released today as it happens. We know that there's a Godzilla x Kong film coming that's already had teaser trailers. It sounds like a ship film, but you know, whatever. And we know there's a Monarch live-action TV series in development and coming to Apple TV. This franchise, with half the value of Jurassic, has 3 active showcased projects either just out or in development, whereas the titan that is Jurassic World has absolutely nothing. Zero, zilch, nada. Somebody make it make sense. I don't understand what Universal is doing with this franchise at all. I really don't. Not only that, but it's a variety of projects that the Monsterverse has, including a live-action TV project, which is something that Jurassic fans have been clamouring for ages. My concern is that, as we know, Colin Trevorrow kind of dragged Jurassic World on his back. He's the one who's responsible for it came back at all, right? Convincing Universal to finance these films and to go into a new Jurassic World trilogy, all this kind of jazz. It was really his idea and he pushed for it. No matter what I think of his writing and some of the films, I've got a lot of time for Colin Trevorrow. He seems like a really nice guy. And he's responsible for relaunching this franchise and, frankly, paying my bills for the last 8 years. So, no bad words to say about Colin Trevorrow. My concern is that after directing 2 films and writing 3 films, he's probably time to, it's probably time for him to move on to something else. He's probably ready for a new adventure in his life. He probably doesn't want to do Jurassic for the rest of time. Is anyone else going to pick up the torch? Is Universal going to look at these near $4 billion they've made from Jurassic? And that's just the films. We're not talking about toy lines here and merchandise, which I've got to imagine is more than the film gross, or at least up there somewhere, because Jurassic toys sell like absolute hotcakes. I don't know who sells hotcakes, by the way. It's so hot. You can't sell hotcakes in the summer. Not the point. Like, it blows my mind that Universal would possibly sit on such a high-grossing franchise and not do anything with it. And maybe they are. Maybe there's a film in the works, and there's an animated series in the works, and there's a TV series in the works, and there's new games in the works. Maybe there's a billion things in the works. But we don't know about any of them. There's no suggestions. There's no rumours. It feels like there wasn't a plan in place for post-Jurassic World Dominion. It feels like they figured, right, we'll finish the trilogy, and we'll figure out what comes next. And this franchise has the potential, and maybe some people don't like the idea, but it has the potential to have constant media coming out. It has the potential to be huge for them, and it just seems like it's not being taken advantage of. Now, I know this wasn't all totally Anniversary related, but I think most of us expected them to announce at least one new project. TV, films, video games even. There is a re-release of the NES games. There's NES games as well, coming at some point by Limited Run Games, but there's no information about this online. We just know it's coming. Nothing on Limited Run's website. No release date or anything like that. The anniversary has come and gone. Why was it not released in time for the anniversary? Like, why is the ball being dropped that hot? Just release it for the anniversary. Surely that's the logical thing to do. I don't understand how it's all so poorly planned out. The fan events they do, they tell people like 2 weeks in advance. Like, you see Star Wars and Monsterverse and all these other huge franchises, Marvel, and they tell people about things months in advance. You always know what's coming down the line. You know there's stuff to look forward to. Jurassic has the potential to be that big consistently, but nothing's being done about it. And this 30th anniversary celebration was a real opportunity to do that, and the ball has just been dropped so very hard, in my opinion. I just find it very strange. Now, I am of the opinion that Jurassic as a franchise is not as malleable, flexible, and expansive as the Monsterverse, as Star Wars, as the MCU, all this kind of jazz. The stories it can tell are more limited, but I don't think we're, like even if the limit's here, and some of the others are up here somewhere, we're down here, you know? Like, we're nowhere near that limit. There's a lot of scope for storytelling in the Jurassic franchise that just isn't being exploited at this point in time. And as we've seen, people would eat it up. Camp Cretaceous was hugely popular on Netflix. Anyways, that's it from me. Did you enjoy the JP 30th anniversary? Did I miss a big thing that some of you were into? There is a couple other things on the way worth noting. There is a, I should have brought it up actually, I'll bring it up now. Mattel Creations, who do special toys or something. I know they've got like a cool thing coming that looks like the Jurassic Park gates have been modelled, and that's going to be crowdfunded pretty soon. That might be pretty cool, but again, it's more toys and merchandise. It's not the future of the franchise, which I think this was the perfect opportunity to talk about. Is what it is. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you lovely folks very, very soon. Cheers, much love as always. I did a bit hot. Wait, let me try that again. Cheers, much love as always. That's how you do it. Bye-bye.
Houston, if you're ready, we'll maneuver.